is Maria Jesus Saenz, and then we are really glad to be here to share the first steps of our academic year here at MIT.
Yeah, so today we'll be going over the capstone bidding webinar. We'll cover the basic elements of a capstone, go over a little bit of the deadlines. This will be led by Maria. I'll be happy to join. I'll be happy to answer any questions along the way. We will start by just having the chat feature open. So you'll see me keep looking to my left over here. Feel free to send in questions that I'll pose to Maria. And then if you want to join and speak any questions at the end, we'll unlock the microphones and you can join at the very end for any additional questions. We'll hope to wrap it up within about 45 minutes to 50 minutes and then have some time for questions at the end.
Yeah, great.
So we'll go ahead and share our screen and get started here.
Thank you, Robert. Yeah, so the outline for today is, as you already know, it's just to work through different, requirements, steps, different recommendations about your capstone or thesis projects, right? So the idea is just for you to understand what is the approach that we are going to follow from now. So today is the first day that you are going to start working on these projects till end of May, when you will deliver your final report. You will present and defend your project in front of your mates, in front of different stakeholders, in order just to, of course, hopefully, to get and to go to your graduation at the end of the academic year. So then, as you can see here, then we will go through some definition of the project, what we understand about applied research, what is the process and communication you are going to follow, right, with your mates, with your advisor, with the companies. Then we will see different advice and recommendations that we have presented to the advisors. So then you will also be aligned with them. Also, how we are gonna match your interests and your expectations with the different projects that are available. Totally, we have 33 projects, 2 main sources of projects, one coming from the researchers at MIT CTL, and other projects coming from the proposals that you have submitted, and then we have filtered them just for having the best projects just for your learning, for your experiential learning. So the idea is that we will present these 33 projects along these days. You will receive different emails. I will let you know what is going to be the process you are going to follow. Then we will go at the end with some follow-up, some final recommendations, next steps, and then finally, if we have time, some examples. But in any case, you will have these slides, you will have the video, you can come back to different points, you can ask whatever kind of questions during these days, just to be able, in a couple of weeks, just to be ready to start with your allocated project. Does it make sense, Robert?
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah. Perfect. So let's start. So then, the first is just to understand what is the difference between capstone and thesis. Some of you have already presented your thesis proposal in front of the thesis committee. But the main difference is that in the case of the capstone, we are going to focus more on solving a real problem, real life problem coming from industry, right? And then you have already presented in your project proposal some real problem about inventory, about forecasting, about how to better implement a digital transformation in the supply chain. This is, again, solving a real problem. But in the case of the thesis, the audience, the target audience is different, is the academic community. So then you are expected to get more focused on the scientific contribution. What are the new insights, new knowledge that you are going to generate that is going to help the academic community? So you are going to, with the thesis, you are going to push the boundaries of science, versus with the capstone, you are going to solve a real problem. In both cases, they are applied research projects. We will present in a minute what do we mean with that applied research definitions. Of course, in the 2 cases, capstone and thesis, we are going to integrate different features, right? In terms of innovation. So then we are expected to innovate in terms of a new problem or a new method that you are going to apply. Whatever will be capstone or thesis. In the case of capstone, you will have more of these 3 features versus a thesis, as I will present now. In terms of applicability, then it's applied research. So we are expecting you to gather real data, to integrate real data coming from industry or from different industries or from different, professional associations, just to make an applicable contribution, right? In terms, for example, a new model for a decision support system that the company will implement in their particular setting, right? And of course, the methodology. Are you going to apply a modeling? Are you going to optimize a particular problem? Are you going to run some experiments? So with a more experimental methodology, are you going to run a survey in order to gather data coming from different companies in order to compare and contrast? Are you gonna run a case study or case studies in order to, again, compare and contrast? So different methodologies, not only these ones, right? You can apply different methodologies. So there is a common misunderstanding that we wanted to address here, and this is the difference between a consulting project and a research project. Some of you may think now that, the project that you are gonna work here in our blended program is more a kind of consultancy problem or consultancy project, because then you are gonna solve a problem from an industry. But it's not the case. We are gonna apply more a applied research project. What is the difference? In the consulting, typically, then you have different methods that you have applied to different companies, right? And then you apply to a new company in order to solve their particular problem. But in the case here, in the case of our applied research projects, we are gonna apply the scientific method. We are gonna apply research. It means that we are gonna bring new insights. It's not the case of a consultancy project that you are going to apply something that the consultancy company applied in the past, and then you are going to bring to your new client. Here in research projects, applied research project is not the case. In research, again, we are going to bring new insights, new, knowledge, even if it's very narrow, the innovative element that you are going to address in your particular project, but there is new insights here. Of course, in our research projects, then we are going to bring managerial insights. This will be in both consultancy and research projects, but that can be used for your company, and typically then we are expected to generalize to other companies that can get advantage of the new knowledge that we have generated in this applied research project. Does it make sense, this difference? So this is important difference, right? It's true that there are some common elements with a consultancy project, but there is a big difference between a consultancy and applied research project. Applied research, whatever it would be, again, a capstone or the thesis. In a capstone, it's more just to apply new insight into a particular problem for a new company. But in the case of a thesis, the audience is more the academic audience, right? The scientific audience, right? So then again, difference between consultancy, capstone and a thesis. So what do we understand as an applied research project? What is our approach? Of course, there are different approaches that we can have here. I have taken these slides from a previous seminar with our residential students here that are here right now at MIT. They have already started the residential program. Here they are working very hard. They already passed through the orientation very successfully. So then Josue Velázquez already presented this, seminar very similar, of course, with different kind of elements, but very similar to the residential students. So I have taken some of these slides in order also to let you know what is our research, so our approach for applied research. So mainly, let's define applied research. Typically, is a generation of new insights, right? Maybe the new insights are very narrow, but it means that, we are gonna gather some of the previous theories, methods, or previous knowledge that have been generated in the past, And then we are going to use all this knowledge already available in order to generate new insights. Some new elements should be there. Of course, typically we have systematic inquiry. It means that you are gonna, together with your advisors, you are gonna post an interesting research question. I will cover now what do we mean with this research question. So we will apply a particular method from science. Typically, in the case of applied research, this is a business driving purpose. Right? So then we are expected to resolve a research question that is going to help a particular business, a particular supply chain, a particular industry, a particular narrow element, let's say forecasting, let's say sustainability in the particular context of your applied research project. And then typically also the planning is a key element in order to apply this scientific method, whatever scientific method you are going to apply. But you need to plan very well in advance. This is why we are going to structure the project with different assignments, different deliverables, in order just to, guide through all these different planning process. Yeah, as I mentioned, the most important element is the inquiry. What is the research question that we are going to answer here, right? And of course, it's not that you have a particular solution, a particular technology that you want to implement, a particular model. No, the idea is just to think in advance about why do you want to solve a particular problem? What is the value proposition? What is the research question you want to bring into the table? And then based on this particular research question, this particular problem, then you will find the potential solution, the most suitable solution, right? But it's not the opposite. This is typical, from my point of view, pitfall from some companies that when they decide, okay, I want to implement RFID, IoT. No, it's just the opposite. What do you want to bring? Do you want to bring visibility? Then, okay, maybe IoT, RFID is a good technology, a good solution to get implemented, but not the opposite around. So then it's important. What is the problem? So and typically then you need to think about the problem, and it's typically 80% is just to understand that I have this particular problem, of the existence of this particular problem. So let's see one very, very easy example, let's put it that way, in order to illustrate the different steps of the scientific method in applied research projects. This is typically in biology, but this could be applied in other different settings like supply chain context. First, let's make an observation. Let's put a very simple example. My toaster is not working, right? So then this is a fact, is an observation, right? Is a motivation that I want to solve this particular problem, but first I have an observation, a fact that I want to address. So the second step is, okay, what is the question I'm going to ask in order to solve the particular problem, right? So then the question could be, why won't my toaster toast, right? So then this could be a question. We can pose different questions, right? And sometimes we follow the method, scientific method, we present the particular research methodology, and then we come back again to the research question in order to refine it, right? This is okay. But the key element is, what is the research question I need to address? The third, once I have presented the research question, I will state a particular hypothesis. Is some testable explanation, something that I can test, right? For that purpose, typically, I will use literature review in order to see what other researchers, other even practitioners, what did they solve in the past regarding this particular observation, right here. So then in this case, I can present this hypothesis. I can present a broad range of hypotheses, but this could be one. Maybe the outlet is broken. This could be one of the reasons, right? So then again, this is something that I can test. I can gather some information, some data in order to test this particular hypothesis. Fourth, let's make a prediction based on this particular hypothesis in number 3. Again, we will use literature review and methodology. What is the prediction? In this case, the prediction could be if I plug the toaster into a different outlet, then it will toast the bread, right? This will be a prediction that will help in order to test this hypothesis, number 3, in order to resolve my research question or to try to answer my research question in number 2. Fifth step, test the prediction. This is the validation, right? Based on the number 4. In this case, the way of testing the prediction will be to go, plug the toaster into different outlet, and then try again and again in order to see if the problem was the outlet or was the toaster. Or maybe because I don't know how to interact with the toaster, right? Or maybe there is another kind of reason that even is so exogenous to our context that even we don't know and we need to discover what is going on, right? Again, this is the typical process. Then, of course, we will iterate, right? Then we will go again to different outlets, or maybe we will present a different hypothesis here, or different prediction, or maybe a different research question, as I have mentioned 1 minute ago, right? So then we can reiterate the process in order to be able to present managerial insights. But again, the key element is the research question. What do I want to solve based on previous observation and previous motivation? So we are gonna guide through all these different steps through the research, applied research project, whatever would be a capstone or whatever would be a thesis. Huh? So then again, following with the research questions, then we need to design very well what is the proper question. And actually, the use of the questions is one of the tools that we are gonna actually to deploy through the research, applied research project. Your advisor is gonna pose a lot of questions to you. And the idea is just for you to learn through this process. This is why to pose the right question in the right moment is the right process to follow. Huh? Okay. So then in the case of supply chain, a lot of different research questions are about what is the tension between supply and demand. Then this will guide us just to understand what do we need to solve here? What is the problem? What are my levers that I can really use in order to better understand how to better match supply and demand? But we can have different research questions. They can be very open, but typically in a scientific method, research questions are very narrow. Maybe you can pose a couple of research questions if you want to cover 2 narrow research questions, but then directly going to the point, something that you want to test. So then the 3 guiding questions for the project, right? In order to help you to bring the research question. Why this is relevant? This is why one of the first assignments is going to be the motivation. What other companies, what other stakeholders, studied about this particular problem? What is the motivation? What are the antecedents? Why these companies and stakeholders are taking care of this particular issue or problem? So motivation is important, right? It's not the goal. The motivation is why, the antecedents. Huh? So second, what have others done to solve the problem? What is the literature review? Literature review could come from academic journals. This could come from more managerial, practitioner-oriented magazines or journals, right? Or this could come from white papers from, I don't know, consultancy companies, or maybe from your own company or from your own industry or from the association, professional association in your particular industry, right? What has been done so far and which kind of methodologies and approaches did they use, right? And then you are going to use in order to solve this particular research question. And what do you plan to do different? What is your particular contribution? What is your particular new insight? Remember when we were defining applied research, then we are expected to bring new insights. So what is the narrow insight you are going to bring that is new? Your contribution into this particular context. What data can support my research study? So we are in a very applied and data-oriented, data-driven master program. So then you are expected to gather data and to be able to apply the analytical, the quantitative methods that we are going to teach you through this particular master program. So be ready to capture data as soon as you can, right? As soon as you can, as much as you can, in order to have different options just to be applied in the particular context, in the particular research question that you want to address, right? As you can see here, there are different keywords that I have presented here in order to better align with the different assignments, different deliverables that we are expected into the particular capstone project, into this particular element of our master program. Please, Robert, feel free to add whatever that you think that is important here. What is the process and communication that we are going to follow? So first of all, where we are, all of us, right? So who are the key stakeholders into this particular process? So you are the students, so it means you are the owners of this applied research project, the capstone project. I'm going to talk mainly about capstone project, right? Because this is only, few number of students will follow the thesis option. So let's focus on the capstone projects. So you are the owners, will be individually or in pairs, right? But mainly in pairs. But then you are the owner. It means that you are gonna take the right steps, the key steps, in order to make it progress. You will not be able to blame the project advisor or the company, even though, sometimes they don't react as you will expect, right? But then you are the owner, so you need to drive all the interaction between all these stakeholders, right? You are gonna interact with the sponsor company who is gonna provide data and the particular problem and the particular restrictions of your problem, and then they are gonna approve the content at the end. The project advisor or advisors, right? They are gonna give you on particular methods, but they are not gonna tell you what to do in every single step. They are gonna pose you questions, and then you need answer those questions. But they are not gonna say, number one, do that. Number two, do that. The role is that they will tell you, okay, if you follow path A, then A1 and A2 might happen. If you follow path B, then B1 and B2 will happen. But then you will decide if you are gonna follow path A or path B. It's your decision. Why? Because it's an experiential learning project. Then you need to experience, right, in order to make even your own mistakes and to learn from that. The advisor is like a mirror that is gonna help you to navigate through this process, but you own the project. This is very, very important. You are gonna have writing structures, right? Particularly in the course SCM 258, am I right?
Yes.
Yes. In order to guide you through writing, what is the expectation in each assignment, each deliverable, how you are gonna, write all these different technical reports. But of course, the advisor in terms of technical content is your project advisor. But then the instructors, writing instructors, is gonna help you just to, create more the shape, and then the project advisor more the, technical content. And of course, we are here to support you, right? Both, Josue Velázquez, Robert, of course, and myself, just to guide you through the deadlines and the formats. But again, you are the owner. So if we have a deadline, this deadline is very important that you fulfill. Here at MIT, the deadlines are very important, very, very important. So you need to fulfill these deadlines. So if we are saying that then your report is expected by one day and what time, then you are expected and you are responsible for fulfilling this deadline. We are not gonna, follow you with all these reminders, right? So then it's your responsibility. This is important because you are gonna be very busy, so also you need to take care of the timelines here. So again, you are the owner, and then you are gonna interact with all of them, right? And I already covered the role of the project advisor. In terms of every meeting, so we are expecting, and we strongly recommend, but also we are expecting that you are taking minutes of every single meeting. Even if you have a meeting with your mate, make sure that you take a quick minute note about, what are the topics that you have addressed, who is the responsible for every particular to-do in this list, and then who were the participants. Of course, if this is done together with the company, of course, this is really, really expected, right? So then you are expected to behave in a professional manner with the company. The company is at the end who is going to take the value and your contributions in order to be applied into the particular context. So you need to manage a very professional relationship with them. So please pay attention to the minutes, send the minutes to according to the expectations to the main leader of your particular project. In some cases to Tuba, you have interacted with Tuba, right? That today, unfortunately, she was not able to be here with us, but she is absolutely, providing feedback to wherever you will need in this particular capstone project process. In terms of the deadlines, in terms of the timelines, so here we are going to present the main deadlines. You have already received some Excel with all the different key deadlines for the capstone and thesis project, particularly in the fall, and then we will send to you shortly for all the academic year, starting now till the end of May. Yeah. We will quickly cover all this, but just let me highlight some of the key lines. September the 9th, right? We are gonna release the Capstone Bidding website. It's gonna be a SurveyMonkey website when we will present all the 33, I will talk later about the number of projects, but all the projects will be presented in the SurveyMonkey, and then you need to submit your priorities, your interest, right? Then this starts on September the 9th, and then before that, actually tomorrow on Friday, we will have the last presentations of the capstone project proposals from the researchers, right? CTL, MIT CTL researchers. This means that tomorrow, September the 6th, tomorrow Friday, you will have all the description, all the one-pager descriptions of all the projects coming from the main two sources. Again, researchers who are presenting, we have presented along all these days, and then you have been watching all the videos, and also the projects coming from the students, blended students proposals. We have filtered the best proposals, right? So you will get access to all of them tomorrow, September the 6th. And then during this weekend, and hopefully you have already reviewed some of them, but intensively these days, you will review, because on September the 9th, we will release, again, the SurveyMonkey for the capstone bidding. And then the capstone bidding period ends on September 11th, right? This time, 11:59 p.m. EDT, right? It means that from September the 9th, once the SurveyMonkey will be released, till September 11th, then you will be able to submit your preferences, right? We will gather all the preferences, all your, bidding preferences on September 11th, right? We will integrate all of them together with the proposals from the residential students, right? Because they have also showed, they are gonna show interest. Actually, you have exactly the same deadlines, right? They are gonna also show their interest from September the 9th 15, September 11th, in terms of the researcher projects. They have another sources of projects, right? But you are gonna compete, let's put it in that way, in terms of the researcher projects from MIT CTL. So we will pull all the different interests coming from residential students, from blended students. We have an algorithm in order to take into consideration your preferences and other elements that I will present in a minute. And then on September the 16th, we are gonna show you the allocation, right? Results of this bidding process will be communicated to you. And then in September the 16th, you will receive the particular project that you have been allocated to, right? I am missing something here, Robert?
No, I covered
Okay.
it.
So in terms of the deadlines for this fall term, so starting now till January. So let me go through all of them. October the 4th, this is the first assignment. Then you need to present the action plan. It means that you have already had a meeting with your advisor, meetings, right? Several meetings with your advisor, with your, company, with your mate, internally maybe different rounds, maybe you will need to meet with some of us if you have any doubt, right? And then you will present the action plan. This is the first assignment, right? Action plan, you will know what are the expectations in terms of the action plan. But it's very easy. Typically, a Gantt chart, when you will integrate the different actions you are going to take in your project, in your capstone project, together with other elements coming from the program. It means, for example, the IRP period in January. You need to take some deadlines into consideration because probably you will not be able to work on certain periods of time. So you will integrate this into your action plan because this will affect to the different tasks that you are going to follow in your capstone project, right? October the 8th, we are going to have office hours. It means that through WebEx, I will open my WebEx, and then whoever wants to bring their doubts or their comments, they will join the WebEx conference, and then we will interact typically an hour just to interact about your doubts. But collectively, not individually. You can bring your individual questions, but we'll have a kind of office hours in a group by WebEx. Second assignment, October 25th. This is the motivation. Motivation means a clear statement about the antecedents, as I have already presented previously. Clear statements about where other companies, where your company, where other stakeholders, why did they worry about this particular problem, right? What are the particular motivations that are driving this particular problem and research question? Then office hours again. So we have allocated office hours in October, in November, and December in order to have different touching points in order to make you progress through this fall term. Then again, office hours, November 13th, by WebEx, the same than on October. Third assignment, November the 15th, literature review, right? So then we are expected to address the literature review from now on, once you will be allocated to the project, to November the 15th, in order to understand what others did from managerial oriented literature, academic literature, white papers, as I already presented, according, of course, to your motivation and research question. Fourth assignment, December the 6th, what is the research methodology? What is the working plan you are going to follow? And then even some preliminary results. So we are expected you to bring preliminary results at the mid of December, right? December the 6th. This is important. It means that you need to progress through these months. Fall term, even you are not here, but the program has already started, master program has already started, right? So you are expected to work hard on your particular capstone project during this fall term, as you can see with all these assignments. Office hours, again in December, and the fifth assignment, December the 13th, draft poster submission, right? Then we are expected to use this poster, particularly for the Research Expo end of January here. This means that the first draft poster will be delivered mid of December. So then you are expected to integrate these preliminary results, methodology, literature review, etc., into the particular draft poster. Of course, before of January 29th, then you will submit the final poster, right? We will announce the particular deadlines. Then in the middle between the Christmas period and the Research Expo, we will have different sessions. So we are gonna blend together the residential students and the blended students. Once you will be here at MIT with us here in Boston, enjoying the physical residential, period, then we are gonna bring the two groups, residential students and blended students, through the project review and feedback sessions. Typically, you will be divided in groups, research areas. Let's say all the projects that are around transportation will present together in order just to know each other in terms of particular technical concept, technical elements, technical areas, right? This will be a great way of really blending the two audiences, the two students here. Then we will let you know when these review sessions typically will be from January the 7th to January the 17th, right? So typically this will take place in sessions of several hours when you will have an allocation of, let's say, I don't remember, 15, 20 minutes, yeah. Where and when you will have to present the progress of your project. So this is really important. You need to progress through your project through the fall term. In past years, some students, mentioned that they didn't know that they had to progress through the fall term. You have to, because then 20% of this, of the grade of SCM 800, that is for your capstone project subject, 20% of this grade is gonna be based on your deliverables during the fall terms. So you need to be, very precise and progress as much as you can, right? And additionally, you are gonna expose yourself in front of your network of students, network of mates. That is gonna be the, let's say, the prescriptors, right? Prescriptors is the word? Who will, propose you for future recruiters in their companies, right? So they are your mates. And also some other companies that will come on January 29th for the Research Expo, right? It means that then you need to be very well prepared in order to show the best value in front of the different stakeholders. But this is gonna take place in January. So you need to make progress during the fall term, no doubt, right? Okay. An important element to highlight here is that this is accumulative. It means that assignment 5 will need to gather all the progress you have made in terms of the motivation, in terms of literature review, in terms of the methodology. Assignment 4, the report that you are gonna submit on December the 6th should include the best version of the literature review, the best version of your motivation and problem, and the best version of your action plan. And additionally, as we have already presented, the writing structures in this course, SCM 258, will guide you also through what kind of shape all these assignments will be required.
Yeah, so just to comment on a few of these items, you'll get more familiar with the course codes here, but as Maria mentioned, SCM 800, the 20% that's mentioned in the slide, this is essentially the capstone project itself. So the course is divided between the fall and the spring. So the grade that you get in the spring is impacted by your work in the fall. So that's why we made it very clear that you will get a letter grade in the spring term for the work that you do over the course of this fall and through January. So that's why it's very important to be mindful that you will get a letter grade that impacts your GPA. Same with SCM 258, the writing class. Later this month, we will launch the online course content. So each of these assignments along the way will have videos and quizzes that you will be able to partake in throughout the whole fall term. It's basically structured very similarly to just a very compact, short online class, so that you can make sure that you're making progress and have that dedicated writing support from Pamela Siska, who will be the writing instructor. And again, the SCM 258, completing all of these assignments will result in a letter grade on your transcript later in the fall. So those are just two points to keep in mind.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely. We will solve all the questions. We are seeing that there are some questions. No worries. We will come back to that. So in terms of the timeline.
Yeah, so earlier last week, I sent out a sort of tentative timeline of all the key milestones to keep in mind for the rest of 2019, essentially. This includes all of our webinars, the assignments that we have upcoming, and then also key MIT deadlines that you have, such as paying your tuition, completing the online trainings. For international students, you'll be coming up to the I-20 and immigration process pretty soon. So that's just to keep you on track so you know, oh, in October, here's the things that I have to do. And all of this will also be communicated within the learning module. So if you are more tech savvy, you can just subscribe to the calendar there. I will always be sending emails through every week or every other week or so, highlighting some of the upcoming deadlines, so you'll always keep on track. And that will keep us all the way through till January. And then once you get here, we'll move on to the next calendar and you'll get a better sense of the remaining year. In terms of the specific capstone and thesis deliverables, we have this more extensive calendar that Maria mentioned earlier, which covers basically all the way from now until graduation in May. It's a little small here to read all of the requirements, but we'll send that out. And the most important part is it gives you expectations on the assignments that you have to do, also where you would submit them. We make it very clear so that students know that you have to submit it in the learning module so that Pamela can read it. And you also have to submit to your advisor so that they can assess your work and everything. We also make it important to highlight the grade impact, as Maria mentioned in the previous slide, so that you know that the assignment that you submit, the deadline impacts your grade, and then the content impacts your grade in the SCM 800 class.
Yeah, just to highlight that in terms of the capstone project, then the deadlines are the same for the residential students and for the blended. There are very minor differences, right? But just for you to know that when we are using SCM, we mean the two programs, and then the R means residential and the B means blended, right? So then, again, just for you to know.
Yep. And just to answer one question that came here, if we have best practices or examples of the assignments, we will have, so you will be able to access the previous capstone reports that the students submitted, and those give a good summary of sort of the different components of the assignment. In terms of the meeting minutes, we'll send those templates out as well for you to use, so that there will be some templates and help along the way. And then of course Pamela's class, the SCM 258, will go in a deep dive, especially into the literature review and the methodology, because those have very particular structures and guidance along the way. So there's dedicated videos for those sections as well.
Yeah, and the advisors are quite used to this process. They have been participating for many years into all these processes. They are used to guide you through these different assignments, a part of being experts in the field, right? In terms of advisor, what do you expect from the advisor, right? So then we have had also a webinar, a seminar with the advisors in order also to solve whatever kind of questions, in order to inform them about the particular new elements. Every academic year here at MIT, every single year we are making some innovations into the project, and particularly in the custom project too. Right, so then just for you to know, the students you are expected, and this is some of the, I mean, I'm going to present some of the slides that we presented to the advisors, just for you to know what are the expectations. So then you, as a student, you are expected to set up meetings, times, timelines, places, calls, whatever, right? So you are the owner. And then you must run the meetings. Don't expect that the advisor will run the meeting. No. Then you should guide the meeting, you should own it, you should do most of the talkings in that meeting. Frequent asked questions from the advisors. How often do I need to meet with the students? Weekly, biweekly? What we suggested is weekly, especially initially, right? Typically just to set up a particular timeline every single week when, I mean, you are available, the advisor is available in order to follow up. Because at the beginning, there are a lot of interactions just to understand the problem, understand the concept, just to start reading about the particular problem. Later can be weekly or even bi-weekly, right? In my case, for example, I am having weekly meetings with my, students, right? But this depends also on the advisor. Do you meet with the students, advisors, or sponsors together? Initially together. Typically the kickoff meeting is all together. But then later, typically students meet with the sponsor separately, right? In order to interact in a closely manner, and also sometimes separately with advisor in order to gather all the advising recommendations for the capstone project. Do students communicate notes or outcomes of the meeting? Yes, it is definitely recommended, as we presented with the minutes, right? We presented some templates, but it's important, very important, that you guide and then you structure your meetings, and it will be more productive if you structure. Then, do you participate in brainstorming with the students and a sponsor? Typically, the advisor help you, and then but you are the owner, but then you will lead the discussion with the sponsor company again. Do you help the students solve the problem? Yeah, the advisor helps the student, but again, the student led the discussion and are the main owners, the main responsible for, solving the problem. How much advice should the advisors provide? So then we, as advisors, we are not going to tell you this is the right answer, this is the right step, point 1, point 2, point 3. Again, we are guiding you through the right questions in order to allow you to answer, in order to facilitate this experiential learning process, right? We are not the project managers. The advisors are not the project managers. You are the project manager. Huh? And the idea is, as I mentioned, then yes, to allow you to discover the insights. Do the advisors teach the students methods? Yeah, we typically, sorry. We show you some methodologies, right? About what methodologies helped in the past, what are the best approaches for this typical problem. We suggest some literature to be reviewed, but again, you make the decisions which is the most suitable methodology. How do you want to apply the methodology to the particular problem? Again, it's a discovering process.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh,
and just one question that came in here. If we have any advice on what sort of meeting tools we use to communicate. So starting as of today, you should have access to MIT's WebEx online services. So that usually for meetings of 3 to 5 people, WebEx is our usual suggestion. You can call in, go from your phone or from your laptop. As you see here, we're using Zoom, which is also a tool that most of our researchers use. So I'll be sending out some details with links to WebEx so that you can start using that as your main form of communication with one another.
This is great, WebEx. So you have your own WebEx room, right? It means one particular link. Then you can share, and then somebody can connect to that. This is quite easy. You can share the slides. Yeah, so we are quite used to WebEx.
Yep.
But I mean, also we are used to Skype and to other methods. More timely feedback, right? Yeah, typically for whatever kind of deliverable or assignment, typically you should prepare various drafts, right? And in order to come up with the final version of this particular, deliverable, this particular report, right? So be prepared. Don't expect until the last minute in order to submit the draft, right? This is not going to work. Also, the advisors and the companies are quite busy. So then you should try to manage the timelines. So be prepared in advance, gather the advice in advance in order to be able to submit the best deliverable, the best report. Frequent asked questions. How quickly should the advisor provide feedback? Typically, then prepare 1 week in advance, right? So then don't expect, please provide the feedback in 1 hour or even tomorrow. The advisors are researchers who have their own research projects, own agendas, right? So then the same with the companies, right? So then be prepared for that. How detailed should the feedback of the advisors be? Yes, so then it depends on the advisors. There are some advisors that they prefer to include the comments into the Word document. Some others, for example, in my case, I prefer to meet with the students and interact with the particular feedback in order to provide the particular justifications about why, and then to interact with the questions that we as advisors are posing to the students in order to facilitate this experiential learning. So every advisor has their own style. Huh? How much text editing should the advisor do? Be careful. So the advisor is not for correcting the mistakes, the English mistakes, the editing your document is not, you should not expect this. The advisor is just to provide technical advice, right? And also there is a writing center that will provide more on this kind of advice, right? But again, you should be responsible to provide the best in terms of editing, in terms of English. Sometimes in the teams, we are including some English speaking student with some other foreign student, just to balance the knowledge in that regards. But you are responsible to bring the best in that terms. The assignments, and then we are close to finish, right? So then again, the most important part is that what are the learning outcomes out of this piece of experiential learning into our master program, the Capstone project, right? And these are the expected learning outcomes. And this is the most important element. What do we expect you to learn out of your Capstone project experience? Huh? So then you are expected to work on a real supply chain problem. Means real is a real problem. It's not something that we have created just for the sake of learning. No, you are gonna learn through the value that you are gonna contribute to your sponsor company or to the researcher, right? Second, ability to manage, to plan, to control, and execute a supply chain problem and a particular project, considering different stakeholders, your advisor, teammate, other stakeholders, could be the company, the suppliers of your company, etc. Then you will be able to write a research-oriented capstone project. The language in the research reports is different than the language in a, again, consultancy project. So be prepared to change your mind in terms of these kind of reports. And then we are expecting you to communicate concisely and effectively through different audiences of researchers, the audiences of professionals, audiences of students, audiences of academic context. So again, then you should behave in a professional manner. We have no doubt, of course, but we wanted to highlight. The good news is that all these 33 projects that we have selected, are able to facilitate these learning outcomes, right? And the advisors that we have selected, and you as a student, you have been very carefully selected in order to be able to manage all these learning outcomes, right? So how do the assignments work? How we are gonna match your preferences and your interest with the 33 projects. So first, in the bidding process that will start on September 9th, so this Monday, then you will submit your preferences and then your required ranks of all the projects. So then it's a SurveyMonkey, and you will have the list of all the projects coming from researchers, coming from the student proposals, and then you will rank all of them. All the instructions will be facilitated right in this link. Then the blended proposal project, so the proposals that we have filtered that were coming from your initial proposals will have priority over the researchers, right? So imagine you are one student that you have submitted your particular research project, your particular capstone, and then this has been selected. So you submitted your one-pager proposal according to the advice from Tu by myself, and then this is what we're going to be submitted in the bidding process. And of course, you don't need to bid. Oh, sorry, then yes. You need to bid, you need to include that you are going to follow this project, right?
Yes. So that was a question earlier.
Yes.
If you submitted your project, you should bid on your project. Yeah. Obviously, bid it as number one.
Yes,
since that is your priority, unless something has changed, but you should always choose your project as number one, so we know.
Yeah, then we have gathered all the information. Sorry, then you need to include your bidding. Of course, we are expecting your first priority will be your project, of course, right? But then we will have all the preferences together. Sorry, then the algorithm will work better.
Yeah.
So we will use some tie breaks in order to do this matching, right? First criteria, in case of any conflict, of course, then the MicroMaster grades will be taken into consideration from SCX grades and CFX grades. In the case of a residential, they have another grade that will be taken into consideration. Second, the committee is Josue Velázquez and myself, using what is the profile of the project and the students, the profile of the student, in order to better match the technical elements and the different profiles in order to have a successful outcome out of the capstone project. And then, of course, if all these criteria, is conflicting, we think that it's not, then we will apply some random system, but then typically we will not use this random at the end.
And I will say, based off of the last 2 years of experience, students usually get within their top 3 preferences. So we usually never have to go to any sort of tiebreakers, but we always just have these backup plans just in case.
Yeah. So because we have 33 projects and we have more projects than pair of students, so then this will match. What else? So then here we have presented the titles and the company names and the activity of the company and the research fields of all these student proposals, project proposals, right? We have 15 plus 2. This plus 2 means that 2 projects will be run individually, right? We are going to take this into consideration. Then it means that this will be 14 plus 2, not 15, 14 plus 2. We have 2 projects out of this that are going to be individually. You will know in the bidding process, right? So it means that you will be able, imagine, again, I put an example of somebody who presented a project that was selected, so is in this list. Imagine you are one student that the project was not pre-selected, you want to bid, right? So then you will select your preferences out of the 14 projects from this list that will be available for you, together with these 16 projects coming from the researcher project proposals, right? Then out of these 14 plus 17, then you will submit your preferences. Of course, these projects, so the student proposals, are gonna receive priority in order to receive the allocation of students, right? In order to work in pairs for these 14, not 15 again, 14 plus 2. What else? We are gonna finish, I guess.
Yeah, so this was an example where you just got one question in. Where can you find research that is being done in supply chain through our office, or to review some of the previous capstone project proposals? So if you go to the CTL website, ctl.mit.edu, you'll see in the top banner there's a section for publications. You would just click on that, and it would bring you to our publications website where you can see the different types of literature that we have available. So this may include articles from our researchers, paper, as it says, papers, presentations. The section you'll probably be using the most is labeled as thesis. This was when this website was originally established, but it includes our capstone projects as well. So just make sure to select the type as thesis, and you can see all of the capstone projects from the past 2 years. So you'll see in this example, it's May 2017. You can see the ones from last year as well. They'll be located here. If you want to look up individual researcher, the work that they're doing now, you can click on paper and you can see some of the recent highlights that they've done. One thing worth noting is the attachments, the research poster, the executive summary, and the slides from their final presentation will be available immediately. To access the full thesis, though, you do have to create an account, which is in the top right corner here, where it says partner. If you haven't logged in, it'll say partner login. Make sure to click on that and you can request a new account. Just make sure when you're filling out the information that you just list yourself as an SCMB student so that our website manager can approve your account so that you can view the full thesis, which is a special access. If you have any questions, of course, always just let me know. Yep.
Yeah. Some final recommendations. So there was one question very quickly, if you will get access to the publications of some of the researchers. It depends. I mean, each researcher has different pattern to share the publications. For example, in my case, those publications that I can share with the audience are available in my website, digitalsc.mit.edu, but every researcher has their own website. And also maybe you can write to the researcher and then to ask for particular elements, right? But then again, once you have selected the particular topic, the particular project. So just to finalize, we are close to finish. Final recommendations, start writing as soon as you can. Last year, for example, we had one group of students that they were doing a very great Python program, Python model for a platform that was very innovative, very disruptive for a very important and relevant company, but they were not delivering the reporting as expected, right? So again, this will be a fail, right? So be careful with that. So you need to write. You need to write because then what we are gonna assess is the final deliverables, not the platform itself. It's how you are gonna present the outcome of the value. In this case, it was a platform, a Python code, and then how you are gonna, I mean, justify the contribution of these different elements. Don't wait until the last minute. The more progress you make in the fall, the more time and flexible you will gain. This is really, really important. The work begins prior to on-campus arrival. The work begins now. Now, review all the presentation, review all the deliverables, review all the deadlines, review, very importantly, review all the one-pager summaries and videos in order to be able to select the best project. You are gonna work with this project for 9 months. So it's important that you select something that really motivates you, right? And then if something is not going well with your advisor or with your teammate, don't wait until last minute. Talk to the advisor or the teammate or talk to us. Then we are here, yes, a neutral role in order to help if something important happened. But please don't expect that they are gonna behave as you, right? Because then they are different stakeholders with different contributions. So, and of course, enjoy the process. It's gonna be fascinating. You are gonna enjoy a lot. You are gonna discover, you are gonna work in the topic and you are gonna really contribute as you cannot imagine how, beautiful, let me put it that way. How beautiful are the final deliverables of your projects. Then you are making great contributions. You are gonna save a lot of money to companies. Then once you have selected and then the project and you will receive the results on September the 16th, then contact your research partner as soon as you have your advisor according to these, recommendations, and the sponsor company for the kickoff meeting. And of course, even if you can discuss a potential site visit to the company, if you can do it, will be great. And you have some examples I'm not going to cover, but they are available in the PowerPoint, right? And if you have any doubt, please let me know, because then these projects were run by me. Yeah.
Okay.
So let's go to the questions.
Yeah. So we'll open it up for any questions that you guys might have. Let me. So if anybody has any questions, feel free to unmute your microphone and join us here, or just send me a chat message as well. So one question here.
Regarding the data sets, your advisor will let you know. It depends on the data sets, right? So you don't need to submit all the Excel or a data set with all the thousands of data points. This is not part of the deliverable, right? Typically, for example, I don't know, the action plan or the motivation could be 3-page report, right? When you highlight the main elements. The final report is a document, could be 60 pages, 50 pages, right? It depends, with some annexes where we can include whatever you need. Or maybe you can deliver a USB or a Dropbox folder to your advisor when you will include all the data sets, right?
Any other questions that might be coming through? We'll just give it an extra minute here. If not, I'd like to say thank you to everybody for joining it. I have to say this was one of the best attended webinars we've had from our students. Up to 35 students were here today.
Oh, this is great.
So it's really great that we got to speak to all of you live here, and you'll join us for our next webinar in a couple weeks. As always, if you have questions along the way, feel free to email both Maria and I. And as we mentioned, next week we'll be sharing the link to the Capstone Bidding. We'll also send out the course content for the writing course so that you can get started on your project right after the assignments come out.
Yeah, we are really, really excited to start working with you. I mean, you are gonna, experience a lot of challenges, but a lot of opportunities for learning, and you are gonna value a lot, this experience with the Capstone project, with your teammates, coming from different sources of learning, right? Advisors, company mates, also from other students' projects. So then you are gonna learn a lot. But it's important also that you work hard during this fall term in order to be ready when you will join physically us here, okay? Thank you very much and have a beautiful weekend. Bye-bye.
Yeah.